Dave Lee and Stephen Mark Ryan from Solving the Money Problem, they have different opinions on Tesla stock buyback. Let's see what they both think, and then let's break it down.
$5 billion is just not a ton of money, especially for a company like Tesla with a market cap of, let's say, almost $700 billion. If you compare this to Apple, Apple is averaging $20 billion of stock buyback per quarter for the past few years, right? Not per year. Yet the stock is still down 24% year to date. Yes, it could be down more than that without Apple buying back stock, but Apple is buying back over $80 billion of stock per year, not $5 to $10 billion like what Tesla would do. Now, you beat Tesla can start buying back some stock when their cash pile reaches $30 billion or $40 billion. If I look at my 2023 forecasts and estimates, I'm expecting Tesla to have about a $30 billion cash balance by mid next year and possibly a $40 billion cash balance by the end of next year.
I'll be super pissed if they don't almost immediately announce a massive share buyback. Why? Where else will Tesla get a better risk-adjusted ROI than buying their own stock? In my opinion, it's literally the best risk-adjusted opportunity, at least that I'm aware of. There's plenty of others, but I don't know about them in the stock market.
If we just go with Gary's numbers, the reason why he wants a Tesla buyback is if you look at just his numbers right here, you will see that basically buying Tesla stock, that's 23% return when you go with his numbers based on $42 EPS based on 2030. And if you get that at, let's say, 5%, with increasing interest rates, it might be higher, but let's say 5%, then you compare 5% and 23%, and you can see why some people would definitely want a Tesla stock buyback. Gary also says that buybacks don't compete with growth initiatives. They compete with M&A and cash buildup. Now, the question that I would ask myself here is, does Tesla have enough cash? And also, does Tesla need to fund any more Gigafactories right now in this very moment? How much is that going to cost? Would we prefer a buyback instead of a few new Gigafactories as an example? Just like Dave, I am an all-in Tesla stock investor in my stock portfolio, basically. I do have other assets, aside Tesla stock, of course. And I am a long-term Tesla stock investor. I am intending to keep my Tesla stock for probably about 10 more years, maybe even longer, depends on what the stock does. So here are some of my thoughts. Now, personally, selfishly, what I want might be a little bit different than what's best for maybe most Tesla stock investors and Tesla as a company. What I would personally want is I would actually want the stock to go down more because I'm holding long term. So the more it goes down, the better deal I get. I'm not intending to trade short term. I'm not trying to time when Tesla stock reaches a peak and then sell it and then wait for it to go down and then try to buy more when it's going down. I'm not trying to do what Chicken Genius Singapore is doing or what Meet Kevin did earlier this year. I'm not trying to do that. At least not at this moment. Maybe later I will change my mind, but at this moment I have other obligations as well, and I have other businesses to take care of, and I just want to be focused and not worry about what the stock is doing because I know the strategy that I'm using will work out for sure for me long term. Long term, I am extremely optimistic about Tesla stock, even in the somewhat near future as well. Although I wouldn't want to bet on anything that's going to happen in the next 12 months, because if macro is not doing well, if let's say S&P 500 crashes another 25%, which would bring it to basically 50% down from all-time high. So if it drops 25% from that all-time high, another 25%, and we get minus 50%, I have a hard time seeing how Tesla stock would not drop more if that does happen. But, you know, macro can be uncertain. Maybe things will start doing well. Who knows? And I'll give you my thoughts about what I would really want Tesla to do for buybacks and what I think makes the most sense for Tesla as a company to do. Take a look at this. So right now, when I look at Tesla I see a great deal for me. I thought it was a pretty good deal up here even, and I was buying all the way through here, right? So when I see this right now, when I look at the numbers, I like what I see right now even more than what I saw earlier. So I'm getting such a discount when I compare it to these higher levels. And it would appear to me, it could stop dropping around here. If you just look at this from a technical analysis, I think there's some strong support around this level right here. So just around 190-ish level, sort of, and it might break through that. If it goes down, I think the next support level is around here. I would be so surprised if it goes below this. And around this level, if you think that the buyback is maybe not very feasible right here, and I know there's going to be a small tax on buybacks next year, but if the stock keeps dropping to around this level, if Dave is against a stock buyback right now, he's not super against it, but he would prefer that there is no stock buyback right now until Tesla builds up the cash reserves. But let's say Tesla stock drops in the next month, which I don't think that's likely, but anything is possible. Let's say it drops down to this 120, 140 level. Now, when we look at the earnings and P/E ratio, everything would look so much more attractive. So if Gary likes a buyback at present numbers and he's calculating this huge potential return based on his projections, those numbers would improve significantly if a stock drops even lower. So then I would think, when you look at, let's say, at an additional Gigafactory, because Tesla needs to build so many more Gigafactories, and you look at how much money Tesla needs to spend on that, and if they build maybe additional one, maybe even if they overbuild, let's say, at a certain point, it will make more sense to buy the stock than to build another additional Gigafactory. Would it make sense to do it at present numbers? That's a whole different conversation. But if a stock keeps dropping significantly, that's where I really see that it starts to make a lot more sense. However, there are other risks that are going on with Tesla stock globally as well. You see, I'm not exactly a big fan of what is happening here right now, and that is very gentle language what I'm using here. And of course, there are tensions in this side of the world as well. And I would like Tesla to diversify as quickly and as soon as possible away from parts of the world that are more risky at the moment. I would like to see that Gigafactory that we're looking into in Canada as soon as possible. They're even considering one in Mexico. I mean, there's so many places that you can build in the world that would be not at risk if something happens somewhere across the ocean in Europe or in Asia. I mean, the German factory, I think, is all right. The energy prices are going to be, of course, through the roof, but Tesla has ridiculously higher margins. The margin is still going to be okay, and they can export the vehicles as well. And it's not like competitors don't need to pay for those higher prices anyway. So that affects everyone. Gary thinks that there would be a Gigafactory in the UK. Also, earlier this year, everyone was talking about Indonesia as well. We'll see what's going to happen there. I made a video why Tesla would be okay in basically a global boxing match, but I would rather prefer for Tesla to diversify as soon and as quickly as possible. I think we don't want to be at this needless risk, and If Tesla raised money to build additional gigafactories, I would be all for it. I would be more for that than I would be for a stock buyback. Unless, of course, the stock drops even further, then that's where I would then start to think, hey, look, maybe let's buy some shares of Tesla. The buyback might make a lot of sense at those lower prices. Another thing I would like to point out is a lot of people from Wall Street or big, fund managers, they would prefer Tesla to do a stock buyback, even if that's not ideal for Tesla in the very, very long term, because they don't necessarily look at the super long picture. They want to have a returns, quicker. They want to have good performance each year. They're not so much worried, I think, what's going to happen 10 years from now. For me, I am more worried where is Tesla going to be 10 years from now, not where it's going to be next month, 6 months from now, next year. I'm not concerned about that at all. If anything, I want the stock price to stay low. Tesla's earnings in the future, they seem to be looking extremely bright, but I would rather prefer 1 or 2 or even 3 new gigafactories, even if that means Tesla is going to take on some debt. I would prefer that over a buyback. What do you think? Even Cathie Wood from ARK Invest, they don't really model the stock in a very detailed manner where they would say, oh, this is our price target beyond 2026. In this case, 4 years to be specific, although they do go into potential projections all the way up to 2030 in their case. And the split adjusted price target is around about $1,500. So if you are a retail investor and if you really are a long-term investor into Tesla stock, I'm talking more than 5 years, maybe 8 years, 10 years. In that case, I would think, why do a stock buyback right now when there are still potential risks for Tesla? Cash sure is nice to look at where it is right now, but more cash wouldn't really hurt. And if we can use that cash to build additional factories and scale just a little bit faster, my reasoning would be the stock would be worth more in 2030 than it would be if we did a stock buyback right now, even if we use debt, but that increases risk. And the world that we are in today, things are a little uncertain. So I would prefer, if they are going to do a stock buyback, maybe wait till cash is a little bit more built up, like Dave Lee suggested. And if a stock really does go down right now, maybe if everyone wants to do a stock buyback right now for Tesla, then how about we do it more opportunistically? When the stock is down, let's say below $200 at least, okay, then we do a buyback. But if it's not down below that, no buyback. I could get more on that than just doing a stock buyback regardless the price. So I do support a stock buyback. I did vote yes. I just assume that Tesla would only do a stock buyback right now if the price is fairly low, and if it's not, then I would change my vote to no. That's one of the problems with voting. You have to pick which side are you on without too much elaboration. So if I had to pick yes or no, I would pick yes. But with context that if assuming the stock price is low and my preference is build more gigafactories, use that money, raise money to build gigafactories if that gives us another additional or 2 more gigafactories. And I would also love to hear from Steven, would he support a stock buyback regardless what Tesla stock does, or is he only supporting the buyback only at the current price or lower? Or would he also support a buyback if a stock goes back to 300, 350 and above? The preposterous future cash flows of Tesla, that's just one reason why I only own Tesla stock in my stock portfolio. I have 48 in this video. Click on this right now and I'll see you there. My name is Matt Posius. Thank you so much for watching.